Welcome back to Fiercely Unfiltered. I'm your host, Kelly Renee. I've been going back and forth whether to talk about this. I don't want it to come off as finger pointing or blame. I want it to kind of show how a situation that shaped how I look at trust, safety, and protection. My last episode, when I talked about my experience with drugs as an adult, I talked about how someone I loved introduced them to me. And this is something that I'm having a problem letting go of my anger about, because the person who introduced them to me grew up with drugs, grew up with a mom who was an addict, had a best friend who robbed a bank from drugs, had a cousin who killed someone over drugs. His story he tells now is about how he survived being around drugs when he was younger, and how his mom wasn't able to take care of him like she should because she chose drugs over him. So to think about me being at my lowest point, me watching my mom deteriorate from cancer, not being able to really deal with my emotions because I tried to kind of stay away. When my mom's recovering and healthy, I'm walking with her, I'm doing what I can. But when she's deteriorating, it's hard for me to watch. So I try and stay away. She lived around the block from me, but my dad ended up calling and saying, "Hey, Kelly, it's not looking good. You need to start spending time with your mom. She's not going to be here much longer." And those emotions are something that I have problems dealing with. My husband at the time introduced cocaine to me and said, "This will help you not feel your emotions, not have to deal with them or numb you." And I don't blame him for me doing them. That's on me. I said yes. But I do blame him for what he offered me. He knew my past. He knew who I was. He knew I did this in high school and I didn't want to do it again. He knew his past. He wasn't someone who wasn't aware of the costs drugs have on families and how it destroyed his. Yet he still offered them to me as a solution. And I still, to this day, try and figure out why. Was it because he was already done with our marriage and he was trying to make me weak? Was it because he wanted to destroy me and watch me go down a hole and have something to blame on why he left? I am not sure. Did he do it because he was really trying to help me? But then I think, how is that even possible when he understands the cost of drugs in a family? So the only answer I have is he's evil and he wanted to destroy me. And that's hard for me to hold on to because this is the person that I loved and trusted most and was supposed to protect me. So I try to not live with anger. I try not to hold grudges, but this is one thing that I can't let go of. It's one thing that he knew what he was doing. Like, people cheat, people do all that stuff, and that's just human nature. But to give poison to someone who's already hurting is not okay. And you got to understand that just because someone's been hurt by something doesn't mean they're going to protect you from that same pain. And not all love means safety. And not everyone in your inner circle is there to protect you. And this is what makes it hardest for me, I think, to trust again or to not read into people's intentions, because impact and intentions doesn't really matter your intentions if the impact's horrible, I guess is how I'm looking at it. I wish I could have a conversation and understand why, because my mind, when I don't understand the why, won't let go of something. And this has been keeping me up at night since I did my last episode because I didn't go into this part of it. And this is the part that I'm having the hardest time with. And it was also at this point where I just wonder if I wasn't doing cocaine at the time, if I would have seen things more clearly. I wish I was more present when my mom was dying. I was present, but as present as you can be when you're doing drugs like this. I wish I could have processed more while she was alive. Then once she died, the emotions were even more overwhelming. Now my mom was gone. I didn't have her there. She almost wasn't really even there for the last 6 months. It was such downhill and so fast that I kind of lost her before I lost her. But my mom didn't have a funeral. And there was a day we had set up for me to go pick up the ashes from my dad because he got them. And my husband was supposed to go with me. This was the hardest day for me. And he went out for that day and he was supposed to be home at a certain time. And he never showed up, never called me, couldn't get a hold of him, called him 1,000 times. I went and picked up the ashes alone. And later on, he did come home. And to find out the reason why he didn't show up is because he was upset about something. And this is just par for the course. No matter what I'm going through, his emotions trump mine. And I wasn't only dealing with having to pick up my mom's ashes, but now I was dealing with being ghosted from my husband. Like the one person I thought I could depend on wasn't there. And I wonder if I was more clear-minded through this trauma, if I would have seen that as a red flag and I would have seen him pulling away like he was. But with everything I was going through, my mom dying, we were just opening our store. Then a few months later, COVID hit. It was just so layered, like the perfect storm, that it just little spiraled for a little bit. And I did it for a little bit longer after my mom died, but then I only did it when I was with him. And it was what we did when we hung out. And now I look back at it and wonder if it's because he didn't want to be with me anymore. And the only way he wanted to hang out is if we were on drugs. Maybe he wanted to be numb because he was unhappy and he didn't want to talk about it. Maybe it was easier for me to be numb along with him. Maybe he didn't want me to be able to feel all my feelings during this point. Maybe it'd be easier for him if I was numbed. And now looking back at everything I know, I think it was to hurt me, to be honest with you, because how it all played out, how it went down. Like I say, if I was on the ground on fire, I don't think he'd even spit on me at this point. And I'm not really even sure what I did to make him so angry and maybe to make him feel like he needed to give this to me to get back at me for something or destroy me in a way. I don't know. I can't come up with the reason. So my mind just runs in this loop and I want it to stop running in this loop. I'm never going to get an explanation or accountability. It's really hard to forgive someone or move on from something without accountability. But that's the story of my life at this point. There's been no accountability to anything. And I just have to learn how to move on from it. And I'm doing that. But this is the one thing that I'm angry about still. This is the one thing that I think was pure evil and not okay. And I give people the benefit of the doubt and thought maybe he was trying to help me because it did numb stuff. But how does that help you? It just prolongs your healing. It prolongs everything. And then to know what he was doing and then to abandon me and leave me in my pain, dealing with this, almost looks like a premeditated plan. But then I don't want to think that someone I was with for 16 years could purposely hurt me like this. but then there's no other outcome besides that. So I don't know. I just still don't understand. And like I said, I'm not pointing fingers. This is on me. I didn't have to say yes. But when you're in such a low point and you trust someone and they're supposed to be the one protecting you and leading the family, you want to trust them and you want to follow their lead. But when someone doesn't have your best interest in heart and they're telling you to do stuff, you got to look more at why. And for me, there was never a questioning on if he loved me or not at this point. But now looking back at it, I should have seen it. I should have seen what was happening. It was in September. I think his grandma ended up passing. COVID hit. My mom died. We're going to the next year. And his grandma died. And then I started giving him more of the benefit of the doubt because I understand how much pain there is with the death of someone who raised you and who is your number one fan. But it was soon after that me and him ended up having a night of fun. We were too rough and I ended up having to go to the emergency room for a sexual injury, actually. And I was in the emergency room and I was calling him to let him know I ended up going to the hospital. And he wouldn't answer my call. And I texted him, hey, I'm in the hospital. And he said, stop calling me. I'm taking a nap. I have to work later. So that was a few months before he ended up moving out. But still at that point, I was accepting that. Like, okay, he blocked me because I was at the hospital and I was calling him too much because I was scared and I wanted him there with me. But he was already past supporting me at this point, and I still didn't see it. Like I talk to my friends because you think you know stuff when you're 20 and you're 30, and the stuff that we all dealt with and accepted just makes us all embarrassed. Like I'm embarrassed of the stuff I put up with. I'm embarrassed that I thought that was love. I'm embarrassed that I made excuses and that I didn't feel like I was worth more than that, maybe, or I became so codependent that I needed to have him love me for me to feel whole. I'm not sure. I see how they say you can tell if you have childhood trauma because you try and make difficult people like you. And I think that is me. I had to deal with a lot of emotions on my own. My feelings were never important, just like I feel like they weren't at the end of this marriage. But they say that when you had to deal with all your emotions by yourself as a child, that you try and make difficult people like you or make difficult people happy. And looking at it, like there are a few relatives and my ex who are very difficult people and they are very abusive in ways, but I still accept it and I still want their approval. But at this point in my life, I understand that it doesn't matter who it is, if it's family. Blood makes you related. It doesn't make you family. It doesn't make you automatically want the best for the other people. I have a lot of inside haters who shouldn't dislike me, but do. And a lot of them don't like me because of stories from other people, not even interactions with me, maybe not even true stories from other people, just other people's perspective. And they share that with such passion that they want people to feel how they feel. And I don't think that's fair. I think people should judge other people on their interaction with them and give them the benefit of the doubt. I always say, who's shaking the jar? Who is trying to stir the pot? And for what reason? What do they gain out of it? And if you sit there, it sucks that you have to look at everything that way. I'm having a really hard time trusting. I'm having a really hard time not digging into intent and the why before. I used to just give the benefit of the doubt, but I can't do that anymore. my mental health and my peace is too important. So I'm very limited on my circle. I'm not interested on really meeting new people because it's the people that have been the closest to me that have really hurt me the most, who I've been disappointed with the most, where I've understood that you can't really have expectations for anybody, no matter how close you think you are or how much you think they are there for you. So I'm hoping that me having this conversation with myself out loud can help me maybe process it in a way where it's not sitting in my mind anymore. But I don't think I'm ever going to understand how someone who loves you can hand you poison with a smile on their face and disguise it as love. How someone gives you something to numb you instead of to heal you. And how they can do that and then walk away. And how they can do that with all the knowledge in the world on how drugs can negatively affect someone and why that would be something you hand someone. But now the answer is because they were done with me and they understood what it would do to me. And they understood I'd be at my weaker point. I'd be easier to take advantage of. And I'd also wouldn't be able to feel all my feelings to the extent and to deal with them, which would make leaving me a lot easier, which it probably was. And I also, this CEO thing at this Coldplay concert just happened. And it really makes me think about this too, because he was the CEO of our company and I was the COO. And it was I talked about a picture that my son showed me. Well, that was from a prostitute at Hong Kong in Mexico. We weren't divorced. He had gotten a fight with me and went and stayed in a hotel for the weekend and ended up going to Mexico with him and his friends. Went to Hong Kong, hired a whore, let her take pictures with her camera, and she sent it to our company Instagram page. And it was my son who was running it. He was like 18 at the time. So he deleted it and hid it and told me. And we kept it to ourselves because this was also my company and I was the COO and I didn't want to bring our personal life into our company. So then me and my kids, we dealt silently with the betrayal of all this happening, of my husband cheating on me while he was my boss at work. And I kept it all to myself because it was also my company. And I just think, what if I didn't? What if I made him deal with the consequences for his actions back then and I didn't try and protect him from things he was doing to hurt me and my kids? And I think that would have been awesome if he would have got caught like this CEO got caught, where it was just so public and you had to deal with it right then and there. And there was accountability and there were consequences, but that didn't happen. And the shitty part about me keeping that a secret and dealing with it by myself with my kids and not letting the company know at the time, he ended up spending the next couple of years destroying the company without me. I wasn't allowed to be there, and now I don't have a company. So I wonder what would have happened if this would have all came out at the time it did, and if he would have had to resign, and if we would have had new leadership, and if the company would still be here today. So I think it's not always good to hide things. I think it's better for people to have consequences for their actions right away, because they say, if you keep giving people second chances, chance over and over and over again, pretty soon they're going to put you through everything. If you accept anything, they'll put you through everything, is what they say. And I feel like that's true. You think like you're loving them and supporting them by not telling on them, but all you're doing is doing stuff that actually makes the person respect you less. Because it's like, if they're going to deal with this, I could do anything to them and they're not going to leave. And I almost feel like that's what happened. Like I was trying to give unconditional love, but you can't keep giving unconditional love to someone who's hurting you over and over again. And they also say God will make the same person hurt you over and over again until you get it, until you can unlove them. And that's happened. I don't know what I want the message from this to be. I guess it's never trust anyone unconditionally and never love someone so unconditionally in a way that they're allowed to abuse and hurt you and you stay, because eventually they end up leaving. They don't respect you enough because they were allowed to walk all over you, so they leave. And you thought you were doing what you needed to do to save the relationship. Just such a shitty situation. So always look at who's shaking the jar. Why is this happening? To understand if it's something you should be trusting the person with. Do they have your best interests at heart? Is there alternative motive? It sucks that that's what you have to think about for life. But if I would have been thinking like this back in the day, it would have saved me a lot of heartache and a lot of situations and a lot of ignoring red flags that now, like they were slapping me in the fucking face. And I was just so stuck in love. Like, I feel like love is the one thing that makes females weak and stupid. Like every one of my friends who have put up with shit is because they love someone so much they didn't want to lose them. So that's why I have been single for almost 3 years. And they say like the human experience is going through all these emotions, but is it? Like if you've been through such a heavy, dark place and you understand how you got there, you want to take a path where it might get you there again? I never want to be weak like I was before. Maybe that's why I'm working out so hard, making my mindset stronger than it's ever been. Because even though I thought I was strong, I wasn't. I couldn't handle everything. It took me a year to dig myself out of a dark hole. Like I haven't always been go, go, go like I am now. I was in such a bad place and fed poison and abused and mentally talked down to and abandoned by my family and so many different things that I was like, poor me, poor me, poor me. But I'm at the point where life's life and shit happens and it's all about what you do with it. And this is me taking my power back. This is me not staying silent about things that are weighing on me. What I'm actually dealing with now is now that I'm healing and I'm going through this trauma and I'm understanding things, I have new traumas that are popping up that I haven't thought about for years, that I have pushed down so far that now that I'm taking the time to explore everything, new things are coming up. And I'm like, whoa, I haven't thought about that in years. There's things that I've never said out loud. I've only thought, because I've thought if I don't say them out loud, it won't make them real. And that's something I'll talk about in another episode. And I'm getting down to the root of why I did the drugs in high school and what I was trying to numb from. And all that's coming to surface. And it's scary because emotions aren't something I normally like to deal with. But at this part, it's liberating because it's freeing to say the stuff out loud. And it's freeing to let the shame go away. When I say it out loud, I'm not ashamed anymore. It's almost like the Eminem song. He just put all his flaws out there. So what can anyone say to him? I know what my flaws are. I know what my mistakes have been. I've learned my lessons.